This week I'm talking about the things that I think you should buy if you want to spend $5,000 on filmmaking equipment. Hello, my name is Simon Cade and this is DSLRguide. So firstly I just want to say that this video is a general kit, so that means that there are going to be different things for different shooters that you might need or that you might not need, but hopefully there's something for everyone in this kit, something that you can get from it to say, oh wow, I haven't thought of that specific product, that might be very useful to me. And also I'd like to let you know about the blog post, which you can find in the description, and that has all of the links in a big long list to where you can find all of the things that I mentioned in this video, as well as some extra information. So that might be worth checking out. So the first thing I want to talk about is your camera. Now this is somewhat controversial, but I think if you're spending $5,000 on your equipment, then you should get two Canon 600Ds or T3i's. Now a lot of people would say, oh, shouldn't I get a more expensive camera? But I think the most important things are your audio equipment and your lighting equipment, and really your camera doesn't make that much difference. And I personally really like to use two cameras, but I understand that some people, one camera will be absolutely fine. Although I do recommend that you watch my Why Filmmakers Should Use Two Cameras, because that will help you to decide whether you do want to use one or two cameras. Now the next thing is lenses. I recommend the Tamron 17-50 f2.8 VC. This is a great focal length, a great aperture, the image stabilization is really nice, and although it's not the sharpest on a 1080p image, to be honest it really isn't that noticeable. And then to go with that I recommend the Tamron 70-200. This is the older version which doesn't have image stabilization, and while it is an older lens, it has great optics, and the only problems with it are things for photography like autofocus. So next let's talk about something which is really important for filmmakers, and that is audio equipment. So I recommend that you spend a big chunk of money on audio equipment out of your budget, because it really does help with your overall film to make it a lot better. So I recommend the Rode VideoMic Pro, because it works perfectly as an on-camera microphone, but also can be plugged into an audio recorder, which is the next thing. And that for this kit I recommend the Zoom H5, because I'd recommend that you check out a video on that, because it has some awesome features and it comes in at a really good price. Now to make the most out of that setup, you'll need a boom pole, an extension lead, as well as a grip, so that you can get the microphone as close as possible to the talent, and that will really make you have really nice audio quality. And the last thing for audio is a 12-inch hard case, which can hold all that stuff and makes it really convenient when you're setting up your stuff to have a camera bag along with an audio case. So the next thing is camera support, and while it's really tempting to get a slider and a jib and a Steadicam, I think the first things you should get are tripods. So I recommend the Benro S2 kit tripod. This is great for travel and great as a secondary tripod when you need to use both cameras, but then also a sturdier tripod, which this one there are a lot of different names for it depending on where you live, so check out the blog post and I'll have more information about which one you should get. Now I'd also recommend the Manfrotto 560 monopod, because this is great for those times when you don't want to carry a tripod because it's too bulky, but you still want to have stability. I use monopods all the time, they are really useful and pretty good price for considering what they do. And then the last thing is the very inexpensive Polaroid handheld rig. Now this is good for those times when the monopod just isn't quite flexible enough, then you can use the Polaroid rig. It's very lightweight and it's, like I said, very cheap. But you know, a lot of people think that they need to spend hundreds and hundreds on their handheld rigs, because again, in the $5,000 kit, there are lots more, far more important pieces of equipment that you should be looking at. So next up are some essential accessories to make sure that your DSLR works well as a video camera, not just a photography camera. So the first thing is I recommend that you get 4 16GB SanDisk Extreme cards. Now these are fast enough to work in full HD, and 4 of them is probably a good start, although you probably will want some more in the future. Now the next thing is that the batteries that come with the camera only last about 40 minutes, so I recommend that you get the Lampart portable battery, again links in the description, and I've been using the Lampart battery for over a year now, and it still holds its charge for about 8 hours, so it really is worthwhile to not have to swap out your batteries every 40 minutes, it just lasts ages and ages. I'd also recommend that you get the Genus Eclipse variable ND filter. These are really important if you want to have full control over your camera settings in broad daylight or sunlight. Speaking of sunlight, I also recommend the Photography and Cinema QV1 viewfinder. This is really good for blocking the sun from reflecting off your screen, which makes it a lot easier to pull focus and set your exposure when you're out in the sun. So you'll need a bag to put all this stuff in, so I recommend the Case Logic backpack. And to go with that, the Lower Pro Lens Exchange 200. Now this is great because it makes it way easier to swap between your primary lens and your telephoto lens, and that bag can easily fit a 70-200. So that's a really useful thing when you're out in the field and you don't have a table to put your lenses on to swap them. I use it all the time and it's a really good product. So what's the one thing that I'm always going on about on this show? Lighting. Now I recommend that you spend about $1,000 on lighting equipment if you're going to be spending $5,000 total. And the reason for this is that if you want to improve the visuals and the look of your films, buying a camera is not the best thing to do. Buying lighting equipment will see a much bigger difference than just getting a better and better camera, because you can have a lot more control over exactly where the light falls, and it will be far more cinematic if you have some lights. So as it happens, I've already made a $1,000 lighting kit, so rather than repeating myself, I'm just going to say check out that video, which I'll put an annotation up to open a new video right now, but that video will show you exactly what you need in terms of lighting equipment for this kit, even though it's from a separate video, if that makes sense. Okay, so that's it for the $5,000 kit. Now, as always, I'm going to give you a couple of extra things to get in case you've already got some of this stuff. I imagine a lot of you will already have cameras. So the first thing that I recommend that's outside of the $5,000 kit is the Rode NTG microphone. Now this is a great pair with the Zoom H5, and it will also work very well with your video mic, because you can have the video mic on the camera and then have the shotgun mic on your boom pole. And that really is a good setup because you've got really solid audio for syncing up, but also you can use that Rode video mic if you want to have an on-camera microphone for things like ambient sound and other little things. So the second thing would be a replacement fluid head. This could either replace the Benro secondary tripod, because the head on that isn't great, or on the monopod, because the head on that definitely isn't very good. And so you can kind of switch it depending on which one you're using, and that would be a really useful thing to have a decent tripod head for those things. And the final thing is a boom buddy or a boom pole holder, and this is great because it allows you to set up a boom pole without needing someone to stand there holding it, and it's a little bit expensive, but it really is worth it because you can mount your boom pole onto a light stand or a C stand and then just set it up and leave it, which is great for interviews or doing something like I'm doing now where I'm filming myself. Okay, so while I've covered a lot of stuff in this video, there are some things I left out because I just wanted to make sure this video was as short as possible. So one thing I recommend you do is check out my $200 accessories kit, because that has got some of the things that I missed out in this video, which are really small and really inexpensive, but actually are very useful. So if you want to get the full kit, then I suppose you should check out that $200 kit video, which I'll put a link to on the blog post. And I'll also put a link to a playlist with all the other kits in case you're interested in the other kits, because I've done quite a few now and I'll definitely be doing some more in the future. So that's it for this week, and I'll see you next time.